Alright, so I guess I'm gonna call this the Montclair log. Just had another experience, another teachable moment out on the playground. I love teachable moments around just athletic activity, whether it's basketball, football, Mother May I, something we used to play back on the block in GI, or just any athletic activity. I love it. I can connect so well with it, and for me it's easy to connect a life lesson to any athletic activity, or at least most athletic activity. Today I'm on a playground with I think 3rd and 4th graders, and so we're trying to figure out what to play. Some people want to play kickball, some people want to do other things. I came up with an idea for a relay race, which turned out pretty good. Some folks wanted to quit in the middle of the game for whatever reason. Wet whack. But we ended up, one of the kids had an idea, something they played before obviously, for a game called Sharks and Minnows. Now, I wasn't familiar with the game, so he taught me. Sharks and Minnows is one person ends up being a shark, but by some luck of the draw. In this case, I had them pick a number, or I picked a number, and they tried to guess what my number was. So that's how we found out who was going to be the shark. But Sharks and Minnows is, one person be the shark and everybody else is the minnow. And whoever the shark catches in the field of play, however that's defined by the group. When a shark catches a minnow, that minnow ends up being on the shark's team, or ends up being a shark on the shark's team, and both of them catch the rest of the minnow. And each person who's a minnow, each minnow that the shark catches becomes the shark. So it was me and another kid. I ended up being a shark. It was me and another kid, we were sharks, and there was a third kid who was the minnow. Of course, as competitive as I am, that was my idea. I was like, hey, I told the other shark, I said, me and you, we're just gonna pick one person. Instead of just getting everybody at random, we're gonna pick one person. 2 on 1. So the kid, the minnow that we kind of ganged up on, he was at one end of the field of play, and we were a couple steps away. But what ended up happening, and I'm so glad, so happy, so proud of this revelation that the kid had. Instead of just running, trying to get past us, which he did that initially, but after he figured out that wasn't working, he thought through the situation, and I said, okay, it's 1 on 2. Think about what your advantages are. Even though we have the advantage of numbers, you have some sort of advantage. It's your job to figure out what that is and exploit it in order to get past us, in order to get to the other end of the field of play. And he mapped out all the possibilities that he had in order to reach the other end. And he said, okay, if I go this way, you're gonna get me. If I go in the middle, both of you guys are gonna converge. If I go to this side, he's gonna get me. I said, okay, so We've ruled that out. What physical advantage do you have? Do you have a physical advantage over me? Do you have a physical advantage over him? And even though he didn't figure it out, he didn't figure out what advantage he had, I'm proud of the fact that he thought through the situation, broke down a problem, and analyzed it. And he didn't get frustrated. I mean, he was a little frustrated, but not enough where he couldn't think through the problem. And for me, or for him anyway, I think that's a breakthrough. And one reason I love athletic activity and physical activity that I definitely know guys can relate to. A lot of girls can relate to it. But the lesson that you learn out on the playground, and this is why play for kids is so important. They learn so many life lessons. And in this case, the lesson that he learned, of course, was not to get frustrated, but to think through your problems. Think through your advantages. Think through your disadvantages. And analyze and break down the situation to work in your favor. And I'm also proud that he did not give up. There was no quit in him. And it wasn't I'm not gonna quit. It wasn't anything like that. He wasn't a competitive kid. At least not that kind of raging, competitive kind of guy. Because we do have a couple of them on the playground. But he wouldn't quit. He was determined to figure out what advantage he had over one of us. And at first, he realized, or he discovered one advantage that he could exploit. One of the kids would come up behind me and distract me, and of course I have to keep my eye on all of them. So I naturally would turn my head and see what was behind me. And at one point, he started to run past me, but he hesitated and didn't. But even after he hesitated, or even after he hesitated and reversed his, or backtracked and reversed his field, he said, I should have gone. And I was like, yes, keep thinking. This is an athletic activity, but it's mental. It's probably 80-90% mental, because the other 10%, you're just running back and forth. The 80-90% is trying to figure out how to get to the other end without being caught. And he was very, very close. And I think had time not run out, had it not been time for us to go back inside, had the bell not rung or whatever, I think he would have in essence reached his objective and getting to the other side and exploiting a disadvantage. But even if he didn't, in this case, that's not the point. The point is not to get to the other end. That's the point of the game. But the teachable moment here is to think through your problems. Think through any situation. Analyze it. Break it down. You have an advantage. You just have to figure out what that advantage is. Figure out what's happening. Figure out what's not happening. Analyze the other person's inabilities. What are your own abilities and inabilities? And I'm so proud of this kid for the umpteenth time. I'm so proud of him for doing just that, for thinking through, analyzing, breaking down his problems. And it only starts here. It only starts on the playground. That's where the teachable moments happen for these kids. It's on the playground. So, I'm out. To the kid, you're on your way. You're on your way. I like what you're doing. Keep up the good work, man. Never quit. That's the lesson. Never, ever